Picture this. You've just got an amazing idea and you are ready to bring it to life. Excitement fills the air as you gather your team and set ambitious goals. But here's the catch. In the rush to get things done quickly, you find yourself falling into a common trap. And what's the trap? You utter those famous words, I want it done in 3 days, right? But more often than not, the result is a disappointment. So, how can you break free from this cycle and can achieve more realistic yet agile planning and estimation? Welcome to the Mary Poppins of Startups live show. I'm Naily Makangu from Athena Leaders. As a tech consultant and startup advisor, I will answer live the question that you have on your way to Series A+. Subscribe and tune in every week for top tips to meet amazing guests, startup founders, investors, and more. More importantly, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In this episode, I'm talking to Daniela Radu, a seasoned software professional and founder of Agile. With over 11 years of experience working with startups and companies of all sizes, Daniela has witnessed the pitfalls and triumphs of planning and estimation. And this is something very valuable that will be helping you as a startup founder, whether you are come from a technical or a non-technical background. Daniela is here to guide us through the maze of agile development, methodology, and tools for startups. She will share invaluable insights on how to maximize value while working with smart driven individuals. I've worked in a company that brought me in to lead the product team, and they had 5 products running at the same time, as in 5 different streams, similar software, but there was a lot of difference in what they were building with one software engineering team. And they were also wanted to launch a new AI product that will be based on data of a platform that they haven't even built yet. So when I first sat down, the first discussion, which was quite tough, is to go to the board and say, hold on a minute, let's go back to how you design and build software, and this is why this funnel is never going to work. So how do you manage expectations when it comes to the senior stakeholders when they want it all, yet you really need to refactor and you need to kind of clean up the code base so that you can progress better in the future?
Yeah, that's it's an interesting challenge, that one, because on one side you do want people to have that drive and energy and vision for growing something big. You don't want them to just plateau to saying I just want this tiny thing and that's it, I can't think beyond that. It's good to have that long-term vision, and you want to sort of nurture that, but at the same time you need to create the expectation that realistically this is what you can achieve in this amount of time with this number of resources. So it is good to have that honest conversation, obviously in a diplomatic way, where you don't shatter their dreams. I mean, it's good to still feed that hope that is achievable, but in a longer time scale with added resources after you've maybe hired or gained more investment and added more people to the team and so on. It's their responsibility as well as leaders to not overwork their team. It's not something that just us as consultants can deliver. It will heavily rely on their team to be able to sustain that delivery pace and maintenance going forward. So I think it's worth touching on that angle of how their team feels if they get buy-in into that vision, because that's very important. I mean, we come and go, right, as consultants, but they want to build a healthy team that will continue supporting that product. So I think it's any leader's responsibility to protect their team as well. And this is one of the approaches that is very common in Agile, to have the team estimate. There's no leader that comes and I want this done in three days. Well, yeah, why don't you do it? If you can do it in 3 days. I've had that response in the past, when the leadership has asked for something in some ridiculous time frame, they were like, why don't you? And it's very easy. Software engineers have options these days. They can easily find other places to work in. You don't want to create this toxic environment where they feel pressure to work day and night to have to meet some crazy unrealistic expectations. So yeah, I think you need to basically touch on that angle as well, that it's in their interest to keep their team maybe slightly outside of their comfort zone, but not wildly outside of their comfort zone, because that will not benefit them in the long run.
I'm completely with you on that. And in fact, I just had last week I did a discussion with a client. We were mapping the next version of his product, and he's like, we need to do this and this and this and that. We've got 6 months. And I always start with smiling and nodding and writing down, with the swan effects, right? When you press on Zoom is great because they look at you, you're very calm, and then you're like, oh God, I'm going to have the discussions. And then it's kind of, as you rightly said, how do we ensure that the capacity and what we are planning, of course, yes, it will stretch the team, but is it also unrealistic? And every time I'm with a client, before I can even give an estimate, I always believe that it's important to circle back with the team that will actually build the software, get an idea, a discussion, and estimate what can we play with, whether you use different types of sizing, but really get them on board, because yes, I'm committing myself to delivering this, but I'm committing my team to deliver this as well. So it's important that the founders, especially non-technical background, get used to, whether you want to sit in those discussions, you might not have to, but at least do ask the questions and the involvement of the team, whether it was an estimate, just like, well, this is what we think, or at least they discussed it. And of course, when it comes to software, estimates is always a gray area because you never know what you're going to find out, especially for a platform that's already been built. But I believe that this exercise is really important. Those questions are important to be asked before even committing to or even accepting the estimates that have been provided by a team.
Yeah, and one, as you were talking, one thought that came to mind is that important element of bringing the maybe the commercial person in touch with the technical team and mediating a conversation where if the technical team says, oh, this is crazy, this will take years, you can at least start a conversation on what parts are difficult, because sometimes it can prove that what they think is the difficult part. It's not as important from a commercial point of view, and maybe there's a bit of negotiation that can happen where the commercial person can say, actually, that's something that we can let go of. That's not as important. If we have this, it comes down to that priority and understanding your product and where the challenges are in building your product. So if you want, building that bridge, that communication bridge between the two sides of the business, and getting them to understand each other's point of view and maybe coming to some common ground where it benefits them all, then that's something that can actually move things forward quicker. Having the team working on what's relevant and maybe meeting some time scales as well in the process.
It's a great point to bring up. And I think that's one of the mistakes I've seen a lot in technical teams, or you can have a cross-functional team, but that might not actually have the commercial or a representative from the commercial team when it comes to the big discussions, when it, talking about the scope or even discussion of what needs to be built. Yeah, I think that's a trick that they're missing. So if you ever in a situation, anyone listening right now, and you feel like, wow, there's a lot of work to do, how do you prioritize for your clients? Well, speak to the person that speaks to clients on a regular basis, and now we'll also sell the features to the clients. And whilst we're on that point, if you are enjoying this conversation, please do make sure to put any comments or questions for myself and Daniela in the chat. And even if we don't answer you live today, we will find you, track you down, and answer you even in the chat later on. So no pressure, we can always get back to you. And do not forget to subscribe and share this episode with any other startup teams, and actually other as well big companies that are going through this journey of whether moving to an agile world or they want to grow their product and they feel a bit stuck. Daniela is here for us, so I'm sure she can also provide a lot more advice and support for anyone out there. What are your, I would say, top 3 top 3 tools that you like to use to help them to manage things like backlogs, plans, and communication between the different layers of teams. So we're talking management, we're talking the teams, and also external people who need information.
Ooh. So just like in programming language, I like to believe that there's a right tool for the job. Commonly for backlog management, Jira has been my my common solution used across multiple projects. Obviously, I've used other Track and other sort of Twilio, I think, not Twilio, sorry, Trello, for smaller sort of backlogs. But yeah, I think Jira is the most fully fledged product when it comes to management of backlogs. I'm also a strong advocate for communication. You know, I don't think just a daily stand-up is the point for the team to communicate. So especially if there are remote teams, Slack, I'm in trying to encourage as much buzziness and knowledge sharing and keeping people up to date with what's going on and what's relevant and where the challenges are and whether the other can help and so on. Is very helpful to bring the team together by encouraging them to share where they're struggling and get that prompt support from the others and so on. Then when interacting with the leadership team, then that's probably going to be more presentation mode. So CS is going to be other sort of I've used Prezi before. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but yeah, PowerPoint is kind of the common presentation tool that I'm using with management teams.
So if you've got Jira, a bit of Prezi or whatever, or any other tool that can help with presentations, and also thinking about something for the communication, which for me, I would say Slack is my go-to to have that business that you've described, Daniela. When it comes to the backlog and Jira, that's actually a very interesting one you've mentioned, because that's also my favorite in terms of backlog management. Sometimes though, there is a little bit of a friction when you, let's say, if you wanted to share some of aspect of the backlog for people who are not in as part of the product or the development team, because I think Jira works well for us working with the engineers. But if you want to share what are the upcoming features, or what are the, like, even a high level summary of the features, so that people like the marketing teams are aware, the commercial teams are aware, then that's when you kind of need something else. Is there any other tool that you use for that perspective?
So I've seen a slightly different use of Jira in a number of projects, where you have a separate project which has visibility for other people, external people, and if you want, you have some links for the epics. So basically, you don't go as deep into the details of each and every ticket or story that is worked on, but maybe you discuss at a higher level of what are the intentions in the software development that we are currently undertaking. So it's good to give that insight, but maybe not have all of the details shared, just in case things don't quite go according to plan. You can keep it at a more high level, just more fuzzy in terms of what specific functionality will go into it. But at least it sort of preps people for the intentions and the course direction that the team is taking.
Yeah, and the other thing, I kind of like that. I'm gonna try that as well, because usually what I do, I've got Confluence that I use, where pretty much do what you've said, where the epics and the high ticket user stories are pretty much mentioned there with a bit more information on what we want to do. So that's the team, or like say company facing. One thing that's also very interesting when it comes to sharing this, and I think I would like to mention it for anybody that work in startups or watching this, but they might not be engineers, you kind of need to read as well, because there's always this pressure of, technical people, you are not sharing information. And then when we share, like, oh, wow, there's so much to read. I'm like, there's a level to which I can summarize. And then the next level summary will be the PowerPoints. But sometimes I get a bit frustrated when people want a very, very small summary, but also has all of the information, but they haven't read what you put out there. When you work with a company, what are the top three things that you, or your favorite three things that you like to make sure that they have in place to have a good software development practices, whether it's by continuous integrations, whether by the way they plan, or whichever aspect you think, if there's I only have a few weeks with them, I really want them to work on those three things and do it well.
Mm. So see, all of those points that you've mentioned are important, and some
Yes.
companies, that's where it helps to sit and listen and identify where the weak link is, because sometimes it
Mhm.
could be complete lack of planning, or complete lack of continuous integration, or whatever, and you can feel it, by listening in. You can sense it from the team as well, where the frustration is coming from, where they feel they have lack of information when it comes to what they are supposed to be working on. And that's where you have to work more with the product owner to make sure that that requirements are specified in a way that are satisfactory for the development team to feel empowered to develop on the thing. If the challenges are on the other side, maybe on the quality, on the maybe integration with the other teams, that's where you would put more emphasis on the continuous integration tools. One thing that I care a lot about when it comes to the inner coordination, collaboration within the team, is you mentioned the Atlassian tools basically have really good integration between them. So if you use Confluence for documentation, if you have the product owner, capturing nicely the requirements, we want Jira to also link into that to basically pinpoint where those pieces of requirements will be implemented in one stories and so on. Then each story would be good to also have linked Bitbucket commits, to basically give an idea of where that is, if it's in progress. There are commits against it. There was a pull request already reviewed. It does help, massively with visibility, not just traceability, but visibility within the team at a glance. These tools can make a really good, it speeds up your work essentially.
Yes.
It helps you understand where things are without having to download the Git repo and and look for specific commits for specific themes or in certain areas of the code. You can simply just trace it from the requirement all the way to the commit, if it passed the test, if it passed the peer review, if it does help a lot, I think, with gelling the team, if you want, and
Yeah.
helping keep them up to date with where things are and where there is need for help. If someone is free at any point in time, rather than going and getting another ticket, they can just jump and help with where they their colleagues left it off, and when there might be still problems.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I think that's really important, especially for non-technical founders trying to think about how they can streamline the tools that they are using, because sometimes it can be very overwhelming. And this workflow that you've described in quite a lot of details will really help them to even say, okay, I'm going to focus on that. How do I make sure that my team understand how to use the tool? And then how can you set it up in a way that we can see the information without having to spend so much time looking at different applications? They're just there, but how do we use that? Well, you have it. Success starts with a solid foundation, and that foundation begins with effective planning and estimation. Every journey begins with a single step, and yours starts right here with the support of the Mary Poppins of Startups podcast. If you like the show, remember to subscribe and share the good news to others. And if you need more support, we run a monthly one-to-one tech and product mentoring sessions when we bring on board other industry experts to help you on your journey. Dream, play, let's design a happy and productive workplace playground together.